Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Local Access Forum. My name is Kirsty Hunt and I'm from Democratic Services. As we open the meeting, can I please turn to the first item of business and ask for a nomination of chair? Thank you. If you could use your microphone.
Thank you. Susie Shearer, and I'd like to nominate Jeff Priest.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Ian Harvey, and I second it.
Are there any other nominations? Thank you. So there being none, I'd like to elect yourself as chair. So thank you. Over to you. If I could ask you to turn your microphone off.
The next item is the election of the vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
Good evening, Jeff. I'd like to nominate Lisa, please.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Seconded by Steve.
Steve Gillians.
All in favour? Kirsty's not here this evening. I spoke to her earlier and she said, sorry, Lisa, and she said she was happy to stand if she was nominated. So thank you. Again, welcome to the LAF meeting, a bit short in members, basically, obviously, because the recent elections, the 3 councillors nominated from the borough have not yet been nominated, so we might see the same faces again, and we might see some new ones, which will be the next meeting, but we'll know who they are after the full council meeting on the 26th of June. I think it makes sense, although there's only a few of us, to introduce ourselves around and what our interests are so that everybody knows who we are. Well, I'm fairly sure we do, but I'll start with myself. Jeff Priest, I'm Vice Chair of Hurley Parish Council, and I'm keen and interested in getting younger people out onto the rights of way and involved in the actual environment.
Good evening, I'm Tricia Menzel and I represent the equestrian side, both horse driving and horse riding.
Good evening. My name is Susie Shearer and I represent interests in cycling.
Good evening, Claire Taylor from Eton Wick. I represent cycling, active travel and biodiversity, natural environment.
Annie Keane, an observer, put an interest in equestrian cycling.
Good evening, Alan Keane, Bisham Parish Council, interest in landowners and all of the user groups, basically.
So Steve Gideons from the Ramblers, and apologies for my phone ringing.
Ian Harvey, Coxring Parish Council, and I'm very keen on trying to encourage more people to get out walking, particularly across the footpath networks. And I'll make a clear political point on this, that I believe that is the only way we can actually protect our environment, is by getting people to engage with it.
Do we have any declarations of interest? None shown, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the 6th of December 2022. Is everybody happy to take them as an accurate record? Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Yes, I wondered if I might propose some very small amendments, please.
Susie, we have your amendments, so
Yes.
we'll take them as read and
Super.
put them in, yeah,
Thank you.
if they need. So rather than you going through them.
Yes, no, that's lovely. Thank you.
They're
Chairman.
minor, I know that. Thank you. Any other comments on the last minutes? Subject to the minimal changes that Susie's put forward, which are mainly grammatical, I would say. Can we now accept those minutes as approved? All approved, thank you.
Thanks,
Matters
Chair.
arising, Jackie?
That's better, thank you. Okay, thanks, Jeff. So this is the matters arising report on pages 15 to 22 of the agenda pack. And if I just talk through a couple of the items on this report, with regard to the training, which was under the matters arising from the last minutes, we have had Claire Taylor's actually been on the British Horse Society training, level 1 access and rights of way training now. So I don't know if there's any feedback from Claire about the training.
Just a very interesting conversation, highlighted some issues or some knowledge gaps that I had that now I don't. And we've been able to share that through with Windsor Cycle Hub's volunteers. So it's really been a useful tool. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. I'd like to say that if anyone else would like to attend the training, the British Horse Society training, there are a couple more dates which are on their website, which I do have here. Bear with me. I must have put them in a different part. Here we go. So they have a date on the 16th of July at 9:30 in the morning, and don't know what day of the week that is, but there's also the 17th of September as a date. So that's just to let you know, and if you do want to attend the training, we will sort that out, and the borough will pay for that to happen. It's online training and it's a morning's worth, I think. Okay. So if just at the bottom of page 15, there is also under 13.1, the Local Access Forum Chairs meeting, which is the regional meeting of chairs of local access forums in all the Berkshire authorities, and including Surrey, Hampshire, Oxfordshire. And I believe that is it at the moment. That happened last week on the 14th of June. There are some hard copy notes that I printed off, so I will circulate those, but I will also send them out to everyone, if that's okay, Jeff.
Yes, certainly, Jackie. On the LAF chairs meeting, it was pretty obvious that those who were in attendance were keen to continue with meetings, and in fact, we're looking to extend the representatives out as far as Kent, so hopefully Sussex, Kent, and possibly into one or two of the London boroughs. And the view is that there's more of us who can communicate, have a bit more power if we go back to the Secretary of State or his minions about getting better access for the LAF to data and support. So it's pretty good forum at the moment. They're all buying into it, and it's a mix of secretaries plus chairman plus officers. So it spreads across all three. They're all slightly different, all meet at slightly different times, but it's certainly a worthwhile activity which Jackie's put together and has worked over the last 2 meetings.
Thanks, Jeff. Just one more thing on the LAF chairs meeting was that we were looking to get some engagement from Natural England and DEFRA across all the local access forums in the area and across the country, are looking for that engagement and support from central government, because there's been there hasn't been any for the last few years. And so an email, it was taken up by myself as an action, and I actually took it to what is called the ADEPT meeting, which is rights of way managers across the Southeast region. They all agreed that they would like that as well for their local access forums. And funnily enough, in March, there was an email, which is actually on page 18, from Natural England, actually saying, hello, they wanted to update the local access forum contact list that they had from 2020, which I've gone back to them on, which was just the contact details of myself. They also have a new person in post now who is going to look at supporting local access forums, and who is currently setting up a dedicated local access forum SharePoint site to facilitate communications and admin between forums and local access forums and Natural England. So they were meant to come back to us quite soon after that, but no one has actually heard anything from Natural England since this email, and several authorities didn't actually receive the email. So it's an interesting one, and we hope to hear from them. I think I've taken an action from the LAF chairs meeting to chase it up. So that, if we turn on to page 16, there's a couple of updates on the accessibility working group, and there's an update on the Windsor Great Park access item from the last meeting. At the time, I don't know if you want to talk to that, Steve, at all.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Very briefly, a little to our surprise, we've got a meeting with the Deputy Head Ranger of the park at the end of this month to talk about the possibility of open access, where we'll be inviting him to consider which areas might most appropriately apply. But actually the areas we will be talking about are those that are open already to the public. So our argument will actually be nothing changes on the ground, but you actually make the PR statement that these areas are open to all, with the usual provisos of open access, in that it can be withdrawn at any time, so they're not risking very much. And we'll see how we get on, basically. I think probably rather than wait until December, if it's okay, I'll drop a note round to members after the meeting, just to let you know how we got on and where we go next. I suspect it will be, well, we'll think about it and get back to you. But I'll do what I can to let you know the tone of the meeting as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. That would be really useful. Okay, just below that on the page 16, agenda item 6, there was a request from Councillor Sharp, I believe, at the previous meeting about the emerging Ascot redevelopment engagement, and I took an action to look into it. The Windsor Maidenhead infrastructure delivery team provided the following message, which I just put into the report here. The project team has been set up and is currently finalising the details of engagement with key stakeholders and wider public consultation. We plan to give a further update on the consultation plans and engagement in early July. Would the local access forum, would LAF members like me to follow up on that?
Thank you, Jackie.
Would you like me to follow up on that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I think that's everything on that item, Jeff.
Next item is a membership update. As I've already said, I'll let Jackie explain that, sorry.
Thanks, Jeff. So obviously the 3 councillor members, Hasler, Hunt and Sharp, are no longer on the local access forum, and obviously on the 29th we'll know who the new councillor appointed members are. As Jeff explained, I believe Mark Howard is now a borough councillor, and if he is not appointed as an official borough member of the local access forum, there can only be 3 councillor members that are appointed under the terms of reference and the legislation. So if he isn't, and we could end up in a situation where there are 4 councillor members because he is still a member as an individual. Oh, sorry, Mark, you're here. I didn't even realise.
Well, first of all, apologies for arriving a little late. To my understanding, I'm not being nominated to be the borough member, so I'm here representing Cookham Parish Council for as long as that's appropriate.
Thanks, Mark. I think then it's a decision for the local access forum itself to make, depending upon, because that would mean, even though you're not sitting as a borough councillor, you're still a borough councillor, and that would mean 4 borough councillors, if I'm right. I don't know.
Well, my personal opinion is that irrespective of whether you're nominated or not, you should still be able to sit as an individual. And the agenda shows the nominated councillors specifically, and could still have you on the list of LAF membership as an individual, as far as I'm concerned. If it comes to a vote, then we'll have to do that at a relevant time. But at the moment, my opinion is you add value, and that's good enough for me.
Fine by me. If necessary, we can always find somebody else from Cookham to come along. It's not a big problem one way or another. For me, is that the chairman of Cookham Parish Council normally gets sent to the local access forum, so I can always send the vice chair if necessary, whether she likes it or not.
Right, thanks. I'm going to say we'll take guidance from Democratic Services as and when this should arise, but we've had this before where we had a councillor as an individual member quite some time ago, but he was on the LAF for quite a long time, and actually didn't leave the LAF until he'd actually left the council. So I don't think it's a problem.
Thanks, Jeff. The other issues with membership are that there are a number of, there are a couple of parish councillors who were members of the local access forum, one being Sue Nichols from Wraysbury Parish Council, and the other being Kerry Richardson from Sunninghill and Ascot Parish Council. The situation with them is that they no longer are parish councillors, and Sue has indicated that she wishes to step down and let the parish council nominate someone else in a way, but she actually is the member of the local access forum. So I would need to confirm with her that she no longer wishes to be the local access forum member, or she could still be a local access forum member in her own right, because the individual is the member, not the organisation.
Yeah, that's correct. We'll have to wait and see what she says when you can actually get in communication with her.
And the same for Kerry. So I'll do that. I'll contact them and find out what they want to do.
Thank you, Jackie. We've now got the subgroup reports. First one being the multi-user subgroup. Tricia.
Yes. First of all, I just want to sort of slightly apologise that I haven't been that active because I had to go into hospital for an operation and was recuperating for some of that time. A couple of things that I would like to bring up. One, which was mentioned last time, Uncle's Lane, which has now been completed. And I know the local livery yard have been using it quite a lot. I walked down it myself. Initially, I was a bit concerned because there were quite some largish stones along the side, but I think it will bed down with time, and hopefully it will be a much better surface for both walkers and cyclists, because the muddy patch, I don't know what it was like after the tremendous amount of rain, but they'd also cleared out the ditches, so the drainage should be so much better. So it's good that that's been completed, and we got all the funding that was required for the amount. The second thing, which is that I suppose I find of interest, and I was just going to bring it up on LAF. It's another path which isn't on the definitive map, but it's the route that goes from sort of Henley Road up to Dunger's Wood Hill Lane, and it goes through Woodlands, England, the England Woodlands Trust, and quite a few riders have been using it. It's a wide path and it's easily accessible for horses, but it's not a route as such marked. I know that the Woodlands Trust don't actually want horses to go through there. Now, whether it's just their policy generally, I don't know, but it is a very good circular route. And when I looked it up on Google, it actually said that the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead owned the land and that the Woodlands Trust managed it. Now, whether that was on the wiki, so I don't know whether that's true. I've actually applied for landowners registry to try and find out who actually owns it. So hopefully I'll come back. But I suppose what I was going to say, if the Royal Borough does own it, would they be open to discussions whether to allow horses on there, or is it totally up to the Woodlands Trust who manage it?
Okay.
It's a question, that was just...
Alan, I thought you wanted to have a...
Yes, thanks, Chairman. I don't know if I can perhaps add a bit more information. Yes, it is Dungrove Hill Lane.
Yes, and Carpenter's Wood goes through.
Is it the track that you're talking about, the ownership of, or the...
Yes, I mean, in fact, when I looked on the definitive map, the initial track that goes from Henley Road is on the old road before they did the bypass.
Yeah.
And it's at the top says footpath, but it's actually not 19, I think is the number of the footpath. Yeah. That starts the opposite and then 19. Goes across fields. And I'm not really talking about that. I'm actually talking about a path that goes past the aircraft. And it is a good surface road, and it's quite a wide path. And it comes out on the hill, and then you can go by a Hall Place and do a circular ride round. So that's, I don't know if anyone's ever, if people know that path.
Yes, and I know it very well because I've lived there all my life within a few hundred yards of it. And we have tried very hard over many years to get it established. It's called Michael's Path. Footpath 19 is called Michael's Path. It is a track, not just a path. And when my father farmed the land, we used it for farm vehicles, and horses have used it in the past, but we've never succeeded in persuading the landowner that that's the case, and so it remains as a footpath. It's interesting the concept of opening a multi-user path through the wood, which I believe is owned by Woodland Trust. I may be wrong. I never heard that it's owned by the borough. Past the War Memorial, that's another interesting initiative.
It was just, you know, I know one of the local livery yards, the gentleman has ridden through it for a long time, and then they suddenly found sort of some branches had been put across to stop the horses going through. And it was I need to do a bit more research as well into it.
We'd be very happy to join with you with that, Tricia, because we know it very well. There is a slight complication in that the western end of Michael's Path comes to a stop where the A404 was built and is joined to the Henley Road at Stubbings with another path, which is owned by someone else, one of the other farmers. So it's by no means a simple equation.
Yes, because looking on the map, it just shows it as a trail. It calls it a trail. It's not, as I say, it's not as a footpath on a definitive map. So I didn't know whether it'd be. It's not quite a modification order because there's no. It's not on the definitive map.
Thank you, Tricia. Jackie, it disappear on the definitive map, the completely definitive map.
I have contacted Sharon Wootton and she was going to look in.
She is going to look into it. I was just going to say, we'd be
I
interested in
started,
looking.
but I just thought I don't know if she's not had time or anything, but I've not heard anything back, so I was just going to.
I will raise that with her as well. That would be an interesting one to look into if there's any chance that we could speak to Woodlands Trust and do something about that.
And just one other thing that came up actually recently, again from a horse rider at sort of Dorney, Eton, Wick. And I didn't know whether any of the cyclists and walkers would come across, but she said one of the bridleways, I don't know it personally, but she says the bridleway path connects the north side of the Jubilee, Siffin and Slough, to the south side of the Jubilee, Moors Lane, Eton, Wick. And apparently it's been flooded for a long time. And she was just, it's one of the accesses they use. And I don't know who's got the response, whether it's the Jubilee Channel because it's had excess water, or whether there's anything that can be done.
If I can answer a myriad of those questions, the footpath is managed by Slough Borough Council. It's actually on private land apart from that. The watercourse is an enhanced watercourse, but is also blocked by weed growth in other parts of the watercourses around Eton Wick. They are being managed, or due to closed season for fishing, we've not been able to go in and maintain those watercourses. However, fishing season has reopened as of the 15th of June. So the Eton Wick Waterways Group are in as volunteers, but then Eton College, who are major riparians in the area, have also commissioned activities that started yesterday. So I think around the whole of that watercourse network, you'll find the levels will drop in the next week or so, and hopefully the footpath will be back. I do know that my councillors, my new RBWM councillors, are very active on this and are looking to continue the work that we'd already started, the cross-party discussion with Buckinghamshire, Berkshire councils and Slough Borough Council, just to kind of raise the footpath and make it a little bit more accessible long term. But we are also in conversation with the Environment Agency to improve that as well.
Thank you, that's good. I'll let her know, thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. Just going back on a couple of those things, in reverse order, access into the rowing area at Dorney from the riverbank seems to be now sealed. So that is increasing the amount of traffic on events times, which is actually bizarrely coming from Maidenhead to drive 3 sides of the square and come into the Dorney event. If access from the Riverside Path was open, then that would take a reasonable amount of people off the roads. The second thing, on the idea of circular routes for horses, bikes, everything, Cookham Parish Council incredibly positive about the idea of linking up small parts of the network and approaching landlords. If we can help, please let us know.
Okay. Chair, if I may answer for Eton College, as far as Dorney Lake is concerned, a reminder that Eton College, Dorney Lake is private property.
Correct.
And that they have taken the decision due to abuse of the land and for the safety of the events that they hold during that summer period to shut access, public access between April and September. That'll be why you're having to walk. And I do realise it is an inconvenience. However, Eton College, as the landowner and as an event holder, have to respect the safety of those that are attending their events.
Completely agree, completely understand. However, sorry, Claire, I'm still Claire Taylor. Your voice has changed.
I know. Programmed as well.
Okay. The access from the rear, I understand, but however, on events days, bearing in mind the amount of security they have there, putting 2 people on a gate at the far end to allow people to access the event, not drive, not park, not create congestion across the whole of the area. Bearing in mind is that last time I went past, there was a traffic jam of at least 400 to 500 meters down the lane. It just seems an obvious thing that maybe we should be looking at saying, could you just open the access there on events days to allow some of those people to walk or cycle?
I think if they're coming on events days, they're tending to be by road because they're bringing boats with them.
You're right. But
which is causing the problem on the junction off from the Eatonwick Road.
I can only speak from my personal experience.
I know.
And the amount of cars with 1 child in that were going there is huge.
Trust me, as a resident, it's even more of a problem.
And I do
realise that.
And I do know is that there used to be an access from the Riverside Path. We're talking a gate, not a car access.
Yeah.
And it just seems, from a more suspicious point of view, it might be a way of enhancing revenue for parking. From a more landowner-centric point of view, it might be about security. But either way, it seems a reasonable win-win that for the days there is an event, having 2 blokes standing on a gate does not seem to be out of context with the amount of other security staff on the day. And it might be something we would like to encourage them to do as a neighbourly thing to avoid upsetting all the neighbours.
Thank you both.
Sorry, Jeff, could I just come back on that? Bearing in mind that Dorney Lake itself is actually in Buckinghamshire, would the local access forum like to ask the local access forum in Buckinghamshire to put some pressure on? I don't know if that's possible, but it's just a suggestion.
I would like to propose that. Oh, sorry, I'm not doing it. I was never sure what that one did. I always see you pushing on. I would love to propose that we at least try to ask as a local access forum, and it would encourage walkers, cyclists, take cars off the road, improve local transport on the Buckingham side, And I know of many of the kids coming from Marlow and Maidenhead would quite happily walk from Maidenhead, basically, because the traffic is so miserable. Definitely their parents would like them to.
Thank you. So can I ask one of you two to email me the details of all that stuff you've just given with namely the names, etc., of the roads and lanes, and then I'll myself to write to my colleague on the Buckinghamshire side, who's part of this LAF chairs meeting, and it's an early indication of cross-border working, if you like, and we'll try that. I don't want Jackie to do it; she's got enough, so I'll do it. Chair to chair, okay? So it's down to you on this one.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I mean, a very brief update, really, because we haven't been able to achieve very much. But Lisa has got herself well up to date with the technology of the website, so we're ready to use that. I'm carrying on with writing up some of the walks, which I'll carry on over the autumn. I've been selfish and been out walking, I must admit, like over the good weather, but I'll knuckle down to that later on. The other thing to say is we originally put Runnymede on the list of areas we wanted to cover. I know it's outside of the borough, but it's an ideal area for people with all abilities to walk. And I'm glad to say the National Trust there is doing much of the work for us because they're installing all ability paths, which get a bit of a mixed press, but nevertheless, they will let, I think, I'd be fairly hopeful of creating a most ability circular walk around there, which certainly wasn't possible before. The other thing I'm trying to do, it's a struggle, but I shall persist with it, is trying to get hold of the appropriate person in the National Trust to try and use their maps for the walks, because they would be ideal for what we would like to do, to show different levels of ability on different routes, and they already do this. I just can't find out who did it for them. I will carry on and hopefully steal it.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, Jeff, could I just, Steve, I've got some contacts at the National Trust, various ones who deal with various different things. There's Tim Crawford and James Taylor, and the local ranger is Michael Andrews. So depending, I mean, between them, I can pass the email addresses to you, and you know, they will let you know who deals with what, if that's any help.
Yeah, that would be really useful, because even if they don't know themselves, hopefully they'll know who I should get in touch with, and that's most of the problem. That would be great, thanks.
Cycling group updates. Doing this, Susan?
Lovely, thank you, Chair. I know that Martin Richardson would have been wanting to give a bit of an update on the Windsor Ascot Maidenhead Active Travel Group. Were he here this evening? I'm just going to refer briefly to the report that I prepared on behalf of the Windsor Cycle Hub, because we share very much the same objectives, and we are the Cycle Hub its aim is to help raise awareness of cycling for everyone throughout the Windsor community through activities to encourage people either into or back into cycling, and we work very closely with representatives from WAMACT and also from the Disability and Inclusion Forum, and we're all involved in the inaugural project through the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, which involves Stovall Road and Barry Avenue improvements, existing cycling and walking infrastructure, but of a fairly poor quality now because quite old, and all three groups were able to undertake the site visit with officers and give comments which were incorporated into the final scheme. That's on the point of being finished. I think there's a small amount of signage still to be installed, but it's already making a huge difference to safety and ease of use for all those groups. And we are, as a cycle hub, we are also engaged with the Maidenhead Cycle Hub, which represents cycling in Maidenhead. We work closely with them on training, on delivery of doctor bike events, and both hubs have been very successful in embedding cycling in their respective communities, expanding the popularity and uptake of cycling by a growing range of individuals, supporting valuable social, recreational, and educational opportunities for residents living both in and outside of RBWM, and raising the profile of active travel, which involves cycling, walking, and wheeling, at a time when national transport policy is putting a high focus on the delivery of cycling and walking improvements in all local authorities. We're also very much looking forward to engaging with the horse riding community in the Great Park at the event on the 15th of July. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Training, do you have anything to add to what Jackie said at the start from the last minutes, Tricia? I said, do you have anything to add on training?
No, I'm going to be going to this thing. It came up in the BHS Berkshire committee. I don't know that much about it, but I've volunteered to be there. I think it's really trying to educate cyclists and horse riders, you know, riding, you know, using access and together, you know, having respect for each side and their vulnerability.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. This is item 6 on the agenda, which is pages 27 to 44. This is the pre-order making informal consultation for the proposed footpath diversion of Maidenhead footpath 19. So it's to consult the forum about this proposal. So footpath 19 is part of the Greenway East, I believe. The application form was received from Summerlees, the landowner. The map is on page 29. So if you referring to the map, the existing public footpath 19 is the dashed green line. So heading north after it crosses over the stream, heads north, and is also used by cyclists. There's permissive cycling access on that. And it heads north, crosses over footpath 17, and then heads across a rather wet field. Most of the time it's really wet, obviously. And that is the route that is proposed to be diverted onto what is the dashed red line on the map. So it allows the landowner to, that between the dashed red and dashed green lines on the map at the moment are some football pitches, which are youth football pitches. But by diverting the path across to the other side of the football pitches, it will allow the landowner to extend the size of the football pitches so that adults can play on them as well. So they're adult size football pitches. I believe that is the reason for the diversion. So the opinions are being sought from all the informal consultees, the Ramblers Association, the Maidenhead Civic Society, and some other parish councils and sustrans, and I believe the National Trust as have an interest as well, owning some of the land in the area. So the consultation is running till the 17th of July. And so.
Thank you, Jackie. So do we have any comments or views from the forum?
Just one thing, Chair, we've looked at this in East Berks Ramblers, and as the report says, we weren't happy with the original proposal, but we are happy with the revised one. We think it works pretty well. So I'd certainly urge its support. It clearly needs to happen. It's the case of the best way of doing it. And we think this does work.
Thank you. Mark, are you gonna...
Yeah, my map doesn't have any dotted green lines on. I've just got a dotted red line. So I'm a little unsure of what we're.
That's the dotted green line.
So down, so is the dotted green line supposed to be down the track?
Yeah.
Sort of halfway between the two.
Yeah.
Shall I? Oh. Yeah, that is, yeah. Fine. Yes. Someone who is far higher up the IT pipeline than me. That's fine.
Did you have any other comments besides that? Given Steve's comments on the Ramblers, are the forum happy to support the recommendations of the changes of the footpath? We have a consensus, yes, no? Yep. Forum supports.
Thanks, everyone.
I was actually going to ask a very pedantic question here. Supporting information, para 2.2, it's referring to the width of the shared footpath, cycle path. This submitted application does not say 3 meters, it says 2.5. Is there a formal agreement that this will be at the 3 meters width?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, there is correspondence between the PROW team and the applicant, and they have confirmed that it will be 3 meters.
I'm afraid I'm always going to argue that where there are shared facilities, wider is better.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Jackie, it's draft that LAF annual report.
Okay, so item 7, you can find, which is the draft LAF annual reports on pages 45 to 48, I believe. So this is, purpose of the report is to seek members' approval for the Windsor Maidenhead annual review 2021 to 2022 to be published and put on the borough's website, and a copy to be sent to Natural England. And the draft report is here with various details of what's been happening and what the Local Access Forum has been getting up to over those 2 years. And it is a duty of the Local Access Forum to send a copy of that to Natural England.
Thank you, Jackie. Has everybody had a chance to read through this? I know Jackie sent it out by email some time ago. I was quite happy to put my signature to it because I think it fully explained what we've done recently and what we want to do. So is the forum happy with the draft? Thank you. Forum concurs. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Forum. I will make sure that gets put on the website, and I will send a copy to Natural England.
As you know, in the past, the LAF has been invited to certain areas of development, and we're now looking to see if we can encourage landowners or others, or the borough, to invite us to other developments that they're doing in terms of rights of way, access, greenfields. So if anybody has any suggestions of where they might like to try and get some invitation for the LAF members to go and have a look at what's happening. I don't know whether there's any relevance in going back to Battlemead Common. Maybe when they put the cattle back on there, it might be interesting to go back and look to see how the public reacts with the cattle, and I don't know when they're going back, to be honest. So I think that's probably worth a visit at that time when we know. Other than that, I don't know of any other, I don't know whether there's more development at Oak, is it Oak, what is it? Ockwells, that's it. At Ockwells, I know we've been there twice, and the horse riders and equine group have been there more frequently, but there was talk of development further up of more green areas running towards the railway line. I think it'd be interesting to find out about that. And I think at some stage it might well be nice to go and have a look at the headquarters of the, I keep forgetting their name now, the one where we have meetings now and again, private meetings.
Oh, Braywick? No.
Braywick,
Braywick
yeah.
Nature Centre.
Braywick Nature Centre, because they've done quite a bit of late with schools. So that might be another interesting place to go, and then we can hopefully push it out on some of our website stuff about what Braywick are doing. So there's a few I've thought of. I don't know whether anybody else has got any recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. You're just looking for personal opinions, I think, aren't you? Well, just referring to the list on page 49, the one that stands out for me is Ascot High Street, because I have to confess I'm completely ignorant of what this is all about, and I would love to know. So the other ones I'm much more familiar with personally, and they're nice to visit, but we have visited them, as you say. So if we could, if this Ascot High Street initiative is at a stage where you can visit it, let's visit it, from my personal point of view.
And I think Jackie will have to communicate with the team that are doing it and see when we can do such a visit when they've finished their proposal.
I'm happy to take that back and ask when they're going, what their plans are for engaging with the local community and seeing if they can, if they have something planned that will be on site and that we could go and look at, and when that will be. So yeah, I will do that.
And the other thing we do have outstanding, which we've never taken up, was the Copus family had invited us to go to the area they've created as a natural reserve, a nature reserve, not a natural reserve. But as James is not here, we can't follow that one up, but we can catch him probably in November when he's not busy farming.
There's also the option.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It's a little in advance of this summer, but I do want to put it onto the, into discussion. The potential for large developments in Cookham, specifically AL37, really think we need to be engaged in making sure that site is accessible onto the public footpath network and other networks which run not just, shall we say, into countryside, but connect into schools as well.
Thank you, Mark. Before your time this is, but when the first draft of the local plan came out, the LAF sat down and went through the whole lot and put all our recommendations in. And whether I'm right or wrong, my understanding is that those recommendations for all of the different packages or parcels was given to planning, and planning's intention was that they would be submitted to any developer as part of the process of applying for the packages. So that would be, I suppose the biggest one was mainly the golf course, and how that was going to pan out with the amount of green space it might or might not have. So that there is some comment, I haven't looked at that for some time, but AL7, I can't remember what we said, to be honest. But there is a copy of it around, which if you haven't seen it, we'll get it to you. And you can see what it says.
It is AL37.
37.
And the real reason is that the road outside the front of this site is the obvious route to school. However, there is a network of public footpaths which crisscross the fields between the site and the school, which, if we can figure out a way of linking them together, would provide both a better leisure amenity, but also would provide an off-road route to school, keeping kids safe at a point where there has been several bad accidents and at least one child death in the last couple of years.
Thank you. I can see no problem with us reviewing AL37 again and see what we said, because, as I said, there was a lot said and it's quite a few years ago now. So, yep, we'll look into that.
Can I just ask, Mark, do you know how close that is to coming forward? Have you?
Bellway are saying that they'll be putting in a detailed planning application, I think at the end of this month. They've gone through the borough local plan, the site master plan, and they were saying they were very close to the detailed plan nowish, basically.
Thank you. I will check with planning to see if there's any engagement going on about it. Yeah, this is basically anyone can put their 2 pence in. It was just about looking to the future. We've got the next meeting November, I believe, and I know for a fact that Rosie Street, who was one of the officers working with the National Environment Team, she's actually now got the role of the Local Nature Recovery Strategy Officer, and for the whole of Berkshire. So she is working on that closely with our other Berkshire authorities, and she's happy to come along to the next meeting and give us an update as to progress with that. Hopefully they'll have made some progress with that at that point. We've got the local transport plan, which I believe has had its first consultation on the proposed vision and themes and directions of travel of the local transport plan. So hopefully that will be coming back to be an engagement that we can look at. And also there was a cycle training, cycle training being provided on the borough's website, which I just noted under transport and streets, walking and cycling, cycle skills and training, which is not just bikeability for children. They're also offering confidence sessions for adults. And there's various dates on there. And I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. Maidenhead Cycle Hub is actually mentioned with the bike repair skills workshops, and which are classes for adults as well. And you can book bike maintenance workshop classes. So I just wanted to draw that to everyone's attention, and I'll circulate the link on the website if that's any use to anyone.
Does anybody have any other horizon ideas they want us to look at some future stage? None? Thank you. That's the agenda complete, and I close the meeting. No? Oh, can you have an AOB? You certainly can.
Am I allowed an AOB? I just wonder if you'd had any latest information about the closure of the footbridge over the Thames at Temple. Bisson Parish Council heard a report last night that the Environment Agency are saying that it may never be reopened and may be demolished. this of course is causing great concern to users, and I just wonder if the LAF has received any official status report from the Environment Agency. And if not, perhaps we could ask for it.
I know off the top of my head, I know that there are conversations that my colleague Sharon is having with the Thames Path Partnership, which the EA are part of, and obviously it's the Environment Agency structure. And it is unfortunately one of those wooden span bridges that is very coming to the end of life, much like the one at Summerlees, the Summerlees Bridge at across the Thames at Bray, which is another old bridge. I can find out what the situation is with regard to that, because obviously it's part of the Thames Path.
Yes.
And we don't want it closed. So
Okay.
I will aim to get an update for members.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Mark.
Sorry to leap on Alan's point there, but if we're talking to the Environment Agency, we might wish to raise the issue of the closure of Loch Island, which has been going on for some time at Odney Common, which links between two footpaths in Cookham, public footpaths. And the missing link is an island which has been closed since 2019, I think it is, under terms of health and safety. However, no accident report or log has been provided, and it seems to be an issue where the Environment Agency has just closed up shop and is not communicating. So I don't know if this is the right forum to bring it to, but it's something on the list.
Thanks, Mark. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't have an update at the moment, but I'm glad you brought it up because I know that my colleague is dealing with that, and obviously Dick Scarf has been in touch with her as well about the whole situation, and I can't recall exactly where it is at the moment. I know that the Environment Agency have said that they're doing works to make the fencing and what have you to put up to make it safer, so that people don't get into the water there. But I'm not sure what the last was, so I will find out and let the LAF know.
Sorry, Jackie, just to fill you in on it, is that this seems to have come about when two people died. They didn't die at this particular location. And however, it seems to have now become an issue where the Environment Agency wants to put a 2.3 metre steel fence around not just the weir, but 30 or 40 metres in each direction, which, to be honest, is a bit pointless. If you're trying to stop people getting in the river, you just go 31 metres or 31 metres the other way. And there seems to be quite a long discussion about it, and there seems to be no logical backing up of the claim that they are making on health and safety. As I said, this has been going on since, I'm pretty sure it was 2019 or 2020.
Okay, thank you. Well, we can only ask the question. We have no control on what response the Environment Agency currently in a sort of strange mode of getting on with certain things without lots of discussion, but that's their remit, so we can't do much about it. So that being the case, then I declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for attending.